Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with a mid-August, almost late August update to the market, the MTG market, and the sales that are currently going on at Distributor, as well as what I'm seeing as far as trends are concerned with the mainly Magic the Gathering market. So one of the things I do for my Patreons over at patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder is I try to give my advice on products that I think are good buys right now based upon the data points that are going on in the market. And so what we have going on right now is a very cool but stable market. There are a few trends that I'm starting to see mainly surrounding Standard. And in this video, I'm going to talk about two products in specific. You can go ahead and look at the first video that I made for this over at my main channel, The Rogue Deck Builder, where I talk about a few of the singles that I think are good, or looking at the standard data of particular singles. But this one I'm gonna more direct at the sealed market based upon the trends of Standard. And so, like I said, I try to post some posts over at Patreon to get ahead of trends, to give my patrons a little bit of a leg up before cards and sealed products starts to spike. And so the post that I just post over there, I'm just gonna read it, kind of the gist of what I put over there. So I try to look at the distributor. So I'll just show you a little sneak peek here. So I have this sheet that patrons have access to that you can look at the current distributor sales. And right now it's terrible. There's not any good deals right now. All the distributors are very, like I said, it's cold. It's kind of a boring summer. I don't think that distributors are under any pressure to really sell things at the moment. Typically we see those the first of summer and towards Christmas as they want to free up inventory, and there's a lot of competing products. Again, it's a very quiet time in the market right now. But right now, here's the things that are on sale. So we have Dominary Remastered Collectors, which basically have no spread. I get them at the distributor for exactly what they're going for on TCG Player. It was a very cold product. Distributors actually increased this by $20 in the last couple of weeks, so we could get these in the 170s for quite some time. And it must mean that these, we could actually look at the data points for Domin Remastered to see why, but distributors must have been selling them when there was that $20 spread, and now they've come back down to the market price of what TCG Player is at. And that's typically what happens. Like, there will be a little bit of a lag. Sometimes distributors will have that $20, $30 spread or 10, 15% spread between, TCG Player. At that point, it's not even that lucrative either, because if you're trying to flip, like buy directly from the distributor and sell it on TCG Player, the fees are going to get you at that point. Even like when you're in the hundreds, though, what do they get TCG Player fees down to? You can get them down to like 9%, the lowest, I believe, after you take an account, or even I think it might be a little bit higher than that. What the cut is. Anyway, it's been forever since I sold on TCG Player. However, the TCG Player and distributor, they eventually even out a lot of times with these products. That's just kind of the world we're in of the current Magic the Gathering marketplace. Although I have to say, a little bit of a sidetrack here, I've been noticing things like Ixalan play boosters and even Bloomborough play boosters. There seems to be a decent little spread from distributor price, comparatively speaking, of what they're actually selling for on TCG Player, which is a great sign. It's finally an amazing sign where you're not selling at a loss if you're a store on places like eBay and TCG Player. Anyway, I digress. So currently right now, here are the products. There's not a lot of interesting things. Like I said, Domin Remastered, Midnight Hunt's been on sale forever. Brothers War's been on sale forever. You have like Aftermath, which was a terrible product. Crimson Val Draft Boosters just rotated. It's probably something that isn't worthwhile. But these last two are very interesting, not based upon their spread right now, because if you look, like Murders of Karlov Manor pre-release kits, I can buy them from distributors for like $20, and they sell for $22 on TCG Player, which is literally distributor costs. Like, if I am buying for my store for a pre-release, I'm paying between $21 and $23 out the door after everything is said and done for pre-release kits. So those come with play boosters now with 6 of them. They used to cost $17 when they were draft boosters, and now they're up to 21, 22, 23, around that range. And the Dominaria United draft boosters aren't really on sale either. Like 95 is slightly below what the cost originally was for draft boosters, because you got to remember they had that price hike. They were 87 for a long time, and then when draft boosters came out for, man, we still had them for Ixalan, right? Was that the last set we had draft boosters? They're still up to $95 to $100. So this is like slightly cheaper for draft boosters for when draft boosters first came out. But there have been some increases too now based on the fact that we're comparing them with play boosters. Now, again, this is a weird time period with draft and set boosters versus play boosters. Play boosters have now solidified that it's one product and you don't have to guess which one's going to do better long term. I think it's the most wonderful thing ever because it was always the age-old question, and it doesn't even make sense with particular sets of which one ages better. You look like Baldur's Gate drafted better than set, but if you look at some other of these older sets when first set boosters versus draft boosters came out, and the set boosters are doing better. Expected value, set boosters have almost always outperformed draft boosters. So draft boosters at that point were always just the inferior product, unless there were some few exceptions with how sheets were cut with particular things. I know there is some little caveats here and there with particular sets that might explain why draft booster is doing better. I always wanted to have the debate whether draft booster would hold its value better long term, just based on the fact that they had more utility to them, that people would actually use them to draft. And you can't underestimate that in the long-term scope of a product of how many boxes will be open just because people are bored and want to draft an old set. Set boosters don't have that. No one's ever going to do that. Yes, maybe people might be bored and want to open up set boosters, but draft boosters, I think, had that leg up for that utility that set boosters didn't. Anyway, that question has now been solved with play boosters. I'm glad they did that. So going back to draft boosters on this slight sale, this is an interesting product. And so let's pull up the draft boosters now from TC Player. So I have this link, and you can link right here, and it can show you the spread. So I try to keep this up. This is actually very interesting. And I have to admit, there were a couple dumps for Domin draft boosters. These were probably that didn't do well. There were some Amazon dumps. There were some distributor dumps. The cheapest I can get it for right now is, if you look at the different distributors, is $95 is what out the door after fees and stuff. That's how much it cost me to get it from a distributor. The lowest one on TC Player is $94.16. About one sells per day. If you actually look at this, yep, that's typical. About a box sells per day. And the last ones that did sell were from $93.60, $97, $97, $97. So they have been selling quite consistently for $97, which a month ago they're selling for in the $91s. So that's a good indicator of this set is starting to go up in price. And again, the demand isn't necessarily there. Of course, we're into Bloomburrow. People are opening up Dominator United, but there's some exciting things for Dominator United, which I think people should keep their eye on this particular product, not just Dominator United draft boosters, but also the Omega collector packs, also set boosters, also pre-release kits, things like that. I think that Dominator United specifically is one of those sets that is worth taking a second glance at. And where I'm going to justify that is if we go over here to the data for TC Play, or for MTG Goldfish, shows the overall price set here. Let me move this back over. You can see that the overall value of the set is actually been going up, which is a good sign. It hit its bottom right before Bloomburrow. Then we had rotation happen, and now it is starting to trend back up. And this is very typical. This is what I talked about on my Rogue Market channel, or my Rogue Deck Builder channel, this is how I got into this whole MG Finance sort of stuff, is getting ahead of trends, and obvious trends too. That's what I love about Magic the Gathering, is there's some uncertainties with reprints. There's some uncertainties with a card that does well at a tournament. But typically speaking, we know when rotation is going to happen. We know what rotation is, and it's something that's very predictable. And it used to be so with MTG quote unquote finance to get ahead of rotation. Like, this rotation was my bread and butter clear back in the day of getting ahead on particular cards. I'm not going to talk about card singles particular in this video. I want to focus more on these two sealed products, of why I think that they might be not necessarily good buys now. Like, you should have some time, but you should definitely kind of mull this one over and see if this is something that I particularly don't think that draft boosters are going to get another wave. We could see a scenario where draft boosters just start going up to the 115s, 120s, and Wizards still decides not to do anything about it. And so there's a little bit of wiggle room right there. How will these age like super long term? Are they going to be something like a Kamigawa, or I'm thinking of some other even more recent sets that have gone up, like Kamigawa. I like to give some examples of that. I think we're up to 115s for Kamigawa now, and that was draft boosters were on sale a lot of times for $75, $70, and that was the old pricing. That was before one of the price hikes happened from like the 85 to 95 buck range. I believe Kamigawa was the last draft booster before we had the price hikes. Anyway, back to Dominaria. What I like about this is I've got the weekly. Some of the cards have gone up the most. We have like cut downs and temporary lockdowns and even things like Archangel of Wrath that see a lot of standard play. And what I really like about this though is we still have a $75 Shieldred. And every time that there is a set that's been out as long as this particular set, you get the people that are going to come and look at it. Oh, okay, which booster pack has the most expensive card? I want to try to gamble for that one. And Dominaria is the obvious choice right now. It's got, of course, if you look at collector boosters, you can go, okay, we're into some of these, crazy mana vaults, things like that, or mana crypts that you can get the neon colored stuff. But if we're just looking at the most valuable card right now in standard, based just a regular version, it's still a Shieldred. And from my history of doing this, that alone can be the one factor is if a set does well or not, if it contains a very expensive card in them, because you'll have those casual people. I mean, if you look at Pokemon, for example, that's a good one right there. Like Evolving Skies of that one has the expensive Umbreon. And so people always, even though the EV is nowhere near, you're not going to make your money back by opening packs of Evolving Skies, but people still want to chase it. I think they're going to be the chase effect just for Shieldred alone. So couple the fact that Shieldred is the chase card still in, he's playing Commander, he's playing Standard, and is in a box right now that is reasonably affordable in the draft version of it. So it's the cheapest way to actually get packs to try to open. And I think that alone is going to drive the price of this one upwards. So I think we've seen the bottom of Dominaria United. Now, again, I'm not saying, is this the time to actually get in on a box that is just, super low to begin with, like in super low expected value. But now, with the trends of things like the Timeless Lotuses that have started to go back up, and that's a commander card. It's like Standard's not putting any pressure on that. Liliana's gone up a lot in the past few weeks. Temporary Lockdown's gone up. You even have, do we have the other Domain card, I believe, that's in here that a couple of them have got reprints, but even some of the lands in here are doing well. And there are some sleeper cards in here that I think are going to age quite well long term. But another good indicator of like if we have low supply, like one of the things I talked about in my Patreon post is it just really seems that the Dominaria hasn't been open that much, and so something's got to give. Typically speaking, in these markets, if the expected value will start to increase very rapidly if the boxes originally were opened at the same rate of something like Bloomburrow or Ixalan. So this is a set that actually has more potential than those sets that people were already, chasing those mana crypts and from Ixalan or chasing all the things in Bloomburrow right now. That is going to actually continue to put pressure on the singles and therefore put pressure on the boxes eventually when people get kind of frustrated and tired of going after those chase cards. And then in the future, it actually makes it look kind of worse to go into those boxes, where something like Dominaria with the chase cards and cards are going up looks a lot more stomachable, and then will lead to the sealed product actually starting to trend up as well. So again, in this particular thing, something always has to give with sealed versus the singles. If singles trend up, sealed is not far behind. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make with Dominaria. And I still think that Dominaria has some good things going for it. It doesn't have like a huge amount of high impact cards, but it does have the most one. The most, is that a proper way of saying it? But it does have an uncommon too. Like I said, a cut down, a $4 cut down that had promos galore of this card, and I believe has been contained in some other products here and there. You can still hit the $4 price tag. I think this is a very good sign for this card going forward. The second one I do want to look at too is Murders of Karlov Manor pre-release kits. Now, I've talked about on this channel why I love pre-release kits. Pre-release kits have been evaporating from the latest set. So Wildsville Drain and Ixalan, those ones go for a pretty price tag at the moment. And if you actually start working backwards, there are a few exceptions. Like I think Streets of New Capenna is still very cheap. Dominaria United is still very cheap, for example, for pre-release kits. However, most pre-release kits outperform booster boxes. Now, you do have to remember that you are kind of on, like we call it, the Longtail Theory here. So not everyone is looking, when people go to purchase a product, they're looking for specifically play boosters at this point. So that's the thing that's most advertised, is the most things that people are looking for when they look to buy a product. But it also means there's a lot of competition with that. There's a lot that were printed. There's a lot of sellers that are selling. And what I like about pre-release kits is it seems to have enough of a market that is not something that doesn't move. Like, they move. Pre-release kits move. I mean, if you look at this, 2 sell per day. If we actually look at the play boosters, we're looking at 1 selling per day for Carl of Manor on average. So pre-release kits are selling by volume, not by total value, but by volume. Oftentimes, you will get more of these sold than like a play booster. And it also seems to be, I've been noticing this trend with bundles and pre-release kits, is there seems to be a certain section of people that like to collect products. They're like, I don't want to be, in $140 or $120 on a play booster for each set. Maybe I'll just collect a pre-release kit of every set. And I actually know some people too that they like to keep a few pre-release packs, and then for game nights, they're like, oh, you guys want to do a pre-release of, just pick a pre-release pack. And that's why I like to keep a few around for those particular moments. Again, this is the whole utility theory of these particular things. And so Murders of Karlov Manor, Murders of Karlov Manor is a terrible set. No one liked it. The theme fell short. The contents within them, people, this is right after Ixalan. So people were like, we just went from this set with mana crypts to what's in here? A bunch of, stupid legendary cards. Isn't that what they printed? I can't remember what they did in the mystery stuff that they printed for that slot for Call of Manor. It just fell flat. And this is being dumped. Like the play boosters, the collector boosters are doing quite poorly on the secondary market. They're going for way below cost for distributors. So I think collectors, I believe that distributors are selling. There is a sale on Karlov Manor pre-release kits as well as collector boosters. However, I didn't even post it on this little sheet here because the spread was just terrible. It's like I can get collector boosters for like $180, which is $10 off of what I usually get them for. And I think on TCG Player, the Murders of Karlov are still going for like $140. So you lose $40 by going that right. You might as well just buy from TCG Player if you're thinking that particular product's going to go up. However, the pre-release kits though are interesting based upon there is a lot less supply. I mean, it does say there's 1,000 of them here, but in the scope of things, those things can run out very quickly with people actually purchasing a lot of these things. And speaking from experience, these suckers do tend to evaporate quicker than the play boosters. And those things, of course, get subject to reprints too. Play boosters are eligible to be reprinted now for another 2 years before they go out of rotation, which is what kind of Wizards' pledge of keeping standard product available, which I'm not sure what they're, if they, because we did have last call on even things like Kamigawa that was very recent for some waves and some reprints for it. But anyway, so point being here is if looking at a crummy product, I like to find the best product in that crummy product that has the chance of going up. In my opinion, it probably is going to be these pre-release kits, just for the utility speaking. So again, right now, it's not, the spread's not there. You can buy them all day on TCG Player for 22 pages, and before we get up to the 30, I mean hundreds of copies before. This seller has 129 of them for $22, and so it's going to take a while for this to get those to get 2 per day. You're looking at months before that happens. But, I mean, there's more factors that go into a lot of these people that do sell on TCG Player also have markets on their own website, also run a local game store, and if something sells in their shop, they take it off the inventory here. And I've seen that trend actually happen on TCG Player often, where this thing will say like 1 or 2 sold per day. Then all of a sudden, they'll evaporate at a rate of like 15, 20 per day on, if you actually take a look at this number here of quantity remaining. So there are a lot of factors to look into. So anyway, it's very, very quiet right now in the Magic market. A few other things I want to touch on before I close this video is talking about like Pokemon, Lorcana. Pokemon had a little bit of a run there for a couple weeks for the Sword and Shield and even Scarlet and Violet era. It's cooled off. I don't know exactly where the Pokemon market's going at the moment. It seems to be that there's endless supply of Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield era, so whenever there is a bump, then it just leads to people like taking things off the dusty shelf and putting it up and like, oh, I can finally sell this Fusion Strike that I've been, stubbornly holding on to. I'm included in that. Like, I've been stubbornly holding on to product just because I want to take massive losses on it. So anyway, and then Lorcana too is a very interesting thing too. So if people are interested in those particular topics, I know this is more of a Magic the Gathering channel. Maybe I'll have to get some insight on those particular things as well. So overall, we're in like this cool, I don't want to say stagnant because that's not the right word either. Stable, cool and stable market, which, not a lot going on either way as far as things being fire sold or crazy sales. Oh, and there's not a lot of spiking going on right now. So, I mean, it is good though to get in on some of these trends. And right now, what is hot is standard. And so, if anything is, in my opinion, going to start to go up in price, it could be these low end products in standard that never were opened a lot to begin with. And as I'm pulling up here on Karlov Manor of what I posted on Patreon. What I like about Karlov Manor is it's got this land cycle. So the all these lands, I mean, $12, $10, $16, $21. The lowest one is going for what, $7 for the Celestia? And Celestia is actually a color combination that's seeing a ton of play right now in like the Domain decks, and there are some Celestia decks. So you got to think this one's going up. You actually look over here, it's gone up 12% in this last week. So again, like I was saying with the theory with Dominaria, something has to give with the EV of once these a few other cards start going up in price and the boxes are still very undervalued compared to the EV, then we'll start to see boxes, people cracking boxes for singles. And then at that point, you could start to get it shift again, where then the sealed product goes up and the single prices come down. So all these things to be aware of. Like I said, not a lot to go on. Like, I don't like doing these boring videos. Oftentimes that's why I like skip weeks and stuff. It's like, nothing really worth buying at the moment. Everyone just needs to kind of hold on until we start to see those, pre-holiday sales for some really good deals. We have seen some pretty decent deals here this summer that I probably should have focused more on and spotlighted more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, you can always ask me questions about particular products. If you are a patron, just of course reach out to me about anything you're looking for. I will try to quote you the prices and see exactly what we can get. So keep your eye on these two products again: Murders of Karlov Manor pre-release kits, Dominator United Draft, any of those, both of those sets in particular. I typically do like to look at the underperforming sets. I think a lot of times they have the potential of going up quicker. Like if you can start at a lower baseline, then like Ixalan collector packs are what, $285 at the moment. Are they really going to go up higher, faster than a Murders of Karlov Manor collector booster? Possibly. Of course, they got mana crypts and things like that, and that, that's always worth considering. But typically speaking, the garbage sets like the Amonkhet's seem to recover quicker from their bottoms than hot sets kind of maintain or even go up in value from their above distributor cost. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.